Welcome back into WFLA's recreation of the Barn Theater at Cate Farms in Tennessee, where, of course, you just watched part 2 of A Christmas Carol performed by just one man. One man, he's right here. News Channel 8 anchor Keith Cate. Keith, this is, of course, as we're getting now more into the story, we're talking here about Marley's ghost in this section of the story. And as far as your portrayal now, we're starting to get into more and more characters, of course, and Marley's ghost in particular, was that a challenge to portray? And is that the most challenging character for you to portray in this entire production?
Well, I think they're all unique. I don't know, they're all a little bit challenging, but it's a transition, I think, more than anything, because you want to create a ghost that is frightening in some sense to the audience. It's like, okay, this is a, we obviously, there's three ghosts, past, present, ghost of Christmas yet to come, but no, there's 4. Marley's the first time we see a ghost. And Scrooge is alone, and he's taking all the precautions. He's locking his door. He's checking his room, as we've seen. But then he hears the chains, and then the face appears that he saw on the knocker. And now, as I'm on stage, I'm thinking to myself, I'm envisioning and feeling what he might be feeling, like this uncertainty. Am I seeing things? Am I hearing things? What's really going on? So by the time Marley appears, Marley's face, then it really, it's like, oh my goodness, the same face. And then he notices the chain, and he notices all the things around Marley. And then he becomes confused about, why is Marley even coming to see me if this is happening? So the struggle as an actor and performer, storyteller, is just to make sure that the audience is following. When is Scrooge reacting? When is Marley talking? And are they feeling what Marley's feeling while they're feeling what Ebenezer Scrooge is feeling? So it's a whole choreography of timing and rhythm.
Choreography is an interesting word, because you're using your stage here to your advantage, right? To make sure that you're trying to give the audience an idea as to who is speaking, and you're trying to get into character as you move around. When I was watching you, and I'm watching these parts, and I'm watching the story unfold with one person telling the story, watching you navigate the stage is fascinating to me, because you're really trying to bring the audience into the moment, correct?
Right. Right, and there's nothing happening on the stage. All of the pieces on the stage, the sets, the props, they're not moving, they're stationary. So it is, you're moving around them. But if, for instance, if Scrooge is fearful, he goes to hide behind a chair, or if he moves towards a window, a lot of it is the imagination of the mind. The audience is looking, and they're seeing me do these things, but they're seeing something beyond just the set. There's not a lot to the set. It's authentic, but it's not detailed. So, if I'm eating gruel, I've got a bowl and things like that. They're in the room. But I want people to use their imagination, and that's what's so great about the story as you're doing it as a one-man show, if you will, is people in the audience are looking and they're thinking, yeah, I can kind of envision what Marley looks like. I know what he looks like to me, but what's he look like to you?
Because you have the challenge being up there visually, because seeing Marley's ghost in all of the portrayals, all the actual films and movies that have been done about A Christmas Carol, you can actually see the ghost. But here you're having to be hyper descriptive in communicating to the audience that this is a ghost that has now entered the story.
Well, that's what Charles Dickens did so well. I mean, his writing is so descriptive, you can't mess it up. The only way you can mess it up is just not to give it all, and a lot of times you have to edit out certain things, but the description of the ghost and what he's doing and the way he's feeling is because this is a point in the story where Scrooge is just now beginning to realize, and this sets the play in motion, if you will, the story in motion, that things have got to change, or Scrooge will end up like his partner Jacob Marley, who dies and then is forced to wander through this world in wishing that he could help people, but it's too late. He missed it, he's dead, so he's bound in chains, and he's seeing children, or this is Marley I'm talking about, seeing things happening, but he can't do anything to help, like all the other ghosts, which Scrooge goes to the window and he hears the moaning and the lamentation and the grief. Scrooge sees all of the Marleys out there, all of the people that have died and have not given back. They've not been charitable, they've not been honest, they've not been kind and generous with other people or themselves. So this is where Scrooge gets the first glimpse of, wait, you're talking about me? Because Marley says, you've created your own chain. Ebenezer, you just can't see it yet, but it's there. And Scrooge is like, what chain? I don't see a chain. Well, you don't see it, but that chain is there, and you're adding link to link every day that you live your life, and it fades away, and you might pass away, and you'll be outside moaning and groaning, wishing that when you were alive you could have made a difference in the world.
When this story comes out, I mean, we're talking about the 1800s, right? And it's a different time, but the question will always persist. Is there something in the afterlife? Is there something after we pass through this world? And this is a story that delves into that question with these ghosts that emerge, and it begins with Marley's ghost. So Marley's ghost is extremely important to the overall story here.
It sets the stage, and as the show begins, I mean, Charles Dickens, people are like, well, it's a strange beginning. If you were in the audience and watching the show, as soon as I come out, I say, Marley was dead to begin with. That is a fact. He sets the reality, because without the reality that there is death, you can't have the process of redemption that's going to go on throughout this play. So this premise that, you know, there may be an afterlife is important, but the bigger importance of this story is, what are you doing with the life you're living today while you have a chance to interact with others here and make a difference? Because you mentioned the 1800s. This was written in the industrial time when children were forced into labor, when people were not living well. There was a great disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And so Charles Dickens was trying to send a message as well when he was writing this, because he walked the streets of London. He was making details. He was interacting with all of these people who had all of these problems. So it was a change. Charles Dickens, I believe, was sending a message with the story that we need to do things now to help our fellow man. And that's going to make a difference now, as well as later if you want to go to the faith aspect of it, which is there as well.
Now, I think you were telling me in a previous conversation that this is a play, a performance by you that encompasses more than 10,000 words. Is that right?
Yeah. When I looked back at it, because you add and you subtract, but in the latest version that I have is 10,240 words. I'm counting. Yes, right. Yeah. But also 28 characters that I'm delving in and out of, and all of them are nuanced, and it's difficult. My wife, for a year, I would probably, if you were driving around Tampa and you were seeing me in my car, you would see me just talking to myself nonstop, because that's how I memorized
So
the
if
thing.
you saw him on Dale Mabry Highway just muttering to himself, it wasn't news copy. No, it was Charles
me
Dickens
trying to remember and not wanting to mess it up, because it's so beautifully written. The worst thing you can do is try to use words that try to say a meaning that Charles Dickens spent a lot of. If you ever saw the original manuscript, and there is one, by the way, it is just littered with swirlies and corrections where he was writing feverishly, you know, what he did, how he described the darkness of the walls, the people that he met, and how he would change the characters for Scrooge, squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous soul sinner. All of these descriptive tells are just so wonderful, but yeah, trying to remember them sometimes, it was a challenge, but now it's like locked in there somewhere, and once I get started, I can kind of roll with it. You know? Because there's no backing up once you go out. There's no one out there to help you. That's the one thing about walking out on stage. You know, when you're in the television set, you've got a partner there, you've got a co-anchor, you've got reporters you can toss to, and but when you're standing out there, and it's about a 90-minute, you know, thereabouts performance, because we have carolers in the beginning and the end. But when you put this out there, it's like there's no one out here. If I drop a line, it's like, well, who missed that line? Oh, that was me. Must fix that.
We call that a solo anchor show. No meteorologist, no sports, just one person doing the entire thing.
for this play.
I find Marley's character to be fascinating because, to your point, the story begins with Marley was dead.
Right,
so Marley is a key character in the story. What do we know about how Charles Dickens envisioned the relationship and why Marley was so important to Scrooge, or an important figure in Scrooge's life? Scrooge and Marley, how did they coexist?
Well, they were partners, and what we know about Scrooge and Marley is they were money lenders. And they had great reputations, but they also had reputations of being very harsh. Right. They lent money, there was interest, you had to pay, and if you didn't pay, there were consequences. If that meant you would just have to be tossed out of your home, or your children would have to be sent off to debtor's prison, or what have you, then that's just the way it was going to be. Marley is reciting a lot of that back history with Scrooge in this act that we're looking at here by saying that, you know, Scrooge looks at him and says, well, but you're always a good man of business, Jacob. I'm talking about Marley. He said, business? Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, benevolence, that was my business. And so what you get out of Marley is you get this sense of like, yeah, he was a great businessman. In the eyes of the world, he was tremendous, and that kind of plays to where we are today. You can be very, very successful, but there comes a point where all of that is nothing but tokens and tangible things that we live with today that you could have been doing so much more with your time. And that's, again, I keep coming back to why it inspires me, the play, the story, and why I kind of want to keep it alive as Charles Dickens intended, because it seems very timeless, you know.
Your passion for the source material is apparent.
Yeah.
So you love this story most of all. Why? Is it just the spirit of Christmas? Is it the fact that you've made it a tradition? But why, when you read Dickens' words, what is it that latches onto you and as a person?
If you look back, I have the copy of the book. This is I bought this at 48 Doughty Street in London at the Museum for Charles Dickens. It's his home at 48 Doughty Street. But this was the size of the book when he published it. What I'm fascinated with is he knew he had something special. He started writing this at the age of 31. It was October. He knew he wanted to get something out before Christmas. He had already had success. He had Oliver Twist out there, Nicholas Nickleby, and people knew who he was. But he also knew he wanted to create something that would be tangible, people could put in their hands, it would be beautiful, the gold embossed. It was also a ghost story, so you think about it, he's writing in October, you think, well, you know, that fall time of the year and the ghost stories that would be told. And he, in this book, also changed, I think, the way people think about Christmas. So he was sending a message about poverty, helping man, helping your fellow man, and also being generous and loving your family, because we get into the Cratchits, which we'll talk more about later. But it was so much, there's so much in here. So I guess why does it mean so much to me is because when you read it, you think, well, I've read this story. Oh, I've seen the movie. There's been thousands of them. I mean, Alistair Sims in 1951 had the original, and it was great. But I mean, there have been many more.
So when this story comes out in the 1800s, it was 1843.
Yeah.
Was it anticipated? Was there buzz? Was there?
When it came out, it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Everybody had to get a copy of it, and it was Charles Dickens, and he was putting out a Christmas ghost story, and that's what he called it at the time, was a ghost story.
Was it the equivalent of a Taylor Swift album today? I mean, I don't even know. How big are we talking
There
here?
would be that kind of buzz about it, and the anticipation for what is he going to put out next. I mean,
right.
He was a big star then, and but he needed money. I mean, he wasn't. He was good on spending money, and so he spent. So he needed to make money, and he was a celebrity. And when he put this book out, yeah, no, it was a big hit, big hit.
Well, we have a lot more parts, of course, to come, including the next part of the story, which is The Ghost of Christmas Past. You can find all of the episodes here of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, performed by Keith Cate, News Channel 8 anchor, and all of our Christmas conversations. We have many more conversations to be had.
Yeah.
Look forward to continue talking more about Dickens' beloved story. You can find them all right now on the free News Channel 8 app. Download it for your Apple TV, your Roku TV, your Fire TV, whatever your device of choice is. I don't think Scrooge had many smart TV options in the day.
No, he had a book and a candle.
That was about it. Yeah, that was about it. Of course, you can see the entire performance on our free News Channel 8 app as well. For Keith Cate, I'm JB Biunno. We'll see you next time for a Christmas conversation here from Studio V at WFLA in Tampa, Florida. Merry Christmas, everybody.